Ahoy, mates, and welcome into today's show. I'm so glad that you are here, whether you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube. Thanks for being here. The whole reason we do this show is, one, for me to feel good, and two, for you, I guess. Yeah, for you too. So if you do enjoy today's show, there's a couple things you can always do. Hit the subscribe button wherever you are listening, whether on YouTube or your podcast app. And the theme for today, share this with somebody. If you've liked past shows or if you like today's show, share it with somebody who you think may enjoy it. We will love you forever and ever and ever and ever. Enjoy today's show. What's up? Welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Allison Sullivan. Allison, welcome back.
Hi, Taylor Schroll. I know I've missed you.
You've had so many grand returns. You missed me a little.
Oh,
okay. I missed you a lot. I had to hang out with Edmund Mitchell instead of you because
yeah, that's right.
Your kid got the vid, and then your family got the vid.
We did. It was like dominoes.
You got the vid, right?
I did.
You're a survivor. You're not going to give up.
I am a survivor. I might write one of those little books. It's annoying because I would have a good day and then a bad day and then a good day and then a bad day. So you would think, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. And then the next day you're like, all I want to do is lock myself in this cold, dark room and sleep my life away.
Well,
so
I'm glad that you with COVID has a better life than me without COVID. Because I have good day, bad day, bad day, bad day, bad day, good day, bad day, bad day.
Well, you would just think it was over, and then COVID would be like, not so fast. So the fatigue was what really got me.
Well, I'm glad you're back. You were like, yeah, I can't come over because you didn't want to give me the vid.
I didn't.
And then we had to reschedule this one because I got sick. I didn't have the vid. But, you know, my normal, like, I have bad allergies. I'm allergic to everything inside and outside.
Yeah.
So on Friday, like when we were going to record, I could have done it. But then I got steroids on Friday and they kicked in. And now I feel great.
I have heard fabulous things about steroids. But I've heard that, like, if one person in the partnership gets steroids, then the other person should get them too, because otherwise you're just like all the emotions, all the just heightened, I don't know, awarenesses and like activity levels, then it should be equal. You should be equally yoked on steroids.
Are you saying you should be on steroids or my wife should be on steroids?
I was picturing Sam, yes. Okay. But maybe you could slip me one. Okay. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's illegal. So let's not do that.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, we just got a message from Edmund Mitchell, who
hi there.
Who replaced you when you couldn't show up the other day.
Love him, by the way. He's the greatest.
He's all right. He's all right.
Yeah.
So here's how I wanted to
start. Don't fire me, but I mean, it was a good choice. It was a good, solid choice.
No. I will not fire. But it was really nice to like call him, be like, hey, can you do this? And then ironically, like, you know, you had the vid and then everything, like Ice Storm. That week was terrible.
It was crazy.
And I blame you for getting COVID because everything would have been done.
Right. Yes.
All your fault.
Yes.
Okay. So, whether you're listening on the podcast or on the radio or on YouTube, welcome in. We are glad that you're here. To never miss a show, make sure that you subscribe to Forte Catholic on YouTube and or wherever you listen to podcasts. I wanted to start with this. We're going to start very light and then get really heavy.
Okay.
Which is what I did over a 12-year span, but we're going to do it in about 12 minutes.
Perfect.
Okay. So, St. Catherine of Siena, great saint, tremendous quote. And I just want people to know like the headspace that I'm in. And if you've been listening the last few weeks, you kind of know. But there's a great quote. I've heard it so many times before, and I heard it so differently this past week.
I love when that happens.
St. Catherine of Siena. Well, you might not love it after the way. But
yeah, right.
I always thought about it the holy way, and now I'll show you how I think about it now.
Okay, but when things hit you different, I'm here for that.
Well, good.
Because God's always doing new things. Okay, go ahead.
He is.
Sorry,
I'm not, but he is. So God is closer to us than water is to a fish. And the first thing that I thought whenever I heard this time was like fish out of water is such a common phrase. And all I thought about was like dead fish inside the freezer at Kroger. So like, you know, God's closer to us than water to a fish, but almost all the fish I've ever seen were not touching water.
Yeah, interesting. Right. Yeah.
So that's how close I feel to God right now. Like a dead fish in a freezer.
Wow.
Which I guess you could be like, well, it's ice and that's water. It's like, I don't know.
Do you want to know what image came to my mind? This is so funny to like share your immediate thoughts like on YouTube. But I was picturing like a flopping fish on a hot sidewalk.
So,
gosh, we're in a bad place, Taylor.
Spiritually, you're in the process of dying.
Yes, I've got some life in me yet.
Okay, so fish out of water is kind of the idea of like, you feel like you're kind of in a weird spot. And here's where we start to get a little serious. So I was in a very weird spot a few weeks ago, and it's one of the craziest moments of my life, and I didn't know how to talk about it. And one, I was kind of just waiting on you to talk about it. So again, I blame you for getting COVID.
Sure.
But this actually happened, like literally the street behind your house. Like you live in a nice neighborhood. You're doing great for yourself. You got a bunch of lovely kids. Your husband's a doctor. Like y'all live in a nice place. And I was at the basketball game for the Catholic school that I coach at, the Catholic school I've been working with for forever. And I'm leaving the basketball game. And so it's like 8:30 at night, somewhere around there. So I drive out right in your neighborhood. I take a right by your house and another friend of ours' house. And then I take a left. And there's kind of like, it's not like a main street, but it's like the main.
No, yeah.
It's like neighborhood, and it's the street that runs between the neighborhoods to get to the main street in our town.
Yeah.
And so I'm driving by, and just like always, I'm listening to like podcasts like in my car, like phone's connected to like the car radio, listening to podcasts, and I see like this big dude, probably around my size, and this like really small girl, but like they're like somewhere probably a little bit younger than me. Like I can tell just by looking at them, like, maybe late teens, early 20s, both of them. Big dude, little woman, 19 years old, something like that. And I'm driving by and I see, and they're like, I mean, it's like people are driving by. It's not like we're in the neighborhood. Sure. It's just one car every now and then. It's like there's cars driving by, and I'm one of those cars. And I look over and I can't tell like what's going on. Like he's kind of like hugging her. Mm-hmm. So like the dude's hugging her. He's got like his arms around her, and they're kind of like swaying back and forth. So I'm like, they're either being like super cute, like a lot of times, especially like I'm a lot bigger than my wife. You'll hug and kind of move around and then kiss and then move on with your day, right? And that's how babies are made. No, I'm just kidding. All together. But I couldn't tell. Like, is this like a cute situation? Or like, is he actually like holding her?
Something made you take a second look.
So I wasn't sure. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Like it's 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night. My kids are probably going to sleep. Like I want to tell my kids good night and like help my wife get the kids to sleep. But something just it was just weird. It was just kind of strange. So I go down like 2 blocks and I'm thinking all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I turn back around. Like just like in the street. It's 8:30. I mean, there's cars going by, but not a ton. So I went back around and like they're not hugging anymore, but he's like holding on to her wrists, which is like not cute. You know what I mean? Like hugging can be a cute thing. Like, grabbing onto somebody's wrists, it's like either a really serious moment, like you have, you're really sick, you have COVID, like your doctor.
Yeah, like we're communicating about something deep, or I don't know.
Or it's like
controlling.
Like like handcuffs are like that's kind of what it looks like. You can't go anywhere. So I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like it's kind of. I'm glad I turned around. So I pass by. I see that the second time, and this time I just kind of like whip around the street, like right in front of where this is happening. Right. So they're like in the middle of 2 blocks. I whip around like at the 1 block, and I stop like at the corner. I roll down my window, and I'm just like, "Hey, are y'all okay?" I'm loud, like they both heard me. They both look at me, and the girl kind of looks at me, and the guy's like, "Yeah, we're okay." And I'm like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And she looks at me. She doesn't answer for a while, and then she's like, she starts. You know how you can tell somebody's like they're not crying, but like when they talk, like crying starts to come out, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine," but it was like in like a crying voice. So I'm like,
I don't know.
But she
not
said
taking
she's
that.
Okay. Yeah. So then it's weird. Like, do I stay you know what I mean? Like, she said she was okay. So like my thought is like, okay, I'm just going to drive to the next street and just like get out of my car and just kind of watch what's going on. But as I make that decision, like I start rolling up my window and I start driving away. She like gets up and sprints to my car.
Oh God.
And like gets in
sweetie.
Like the driver's seat. Yeah. I mean, just crazy. Gets in the driver's seat. The guy's following her. And he's like, kind of towering over the car. I mean, I got this little Prius, like he's towering over the car, kind of towering over her. And he's like saying, what are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you going? All this stuff. And she, like, right when she gets in the car, like, she slams the door and I just take off.
Oh my gosh.
As fast as my little Prius can go. And she's just bawling.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And I'm just like, man, like, I'm glad I stopped, so
I have chills.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I got
me too.
It's not just my sunburn I got from the track meet. I actually matched the wall today, my red background and my red skin. But sorry, Washington football team. That's a joke for 8 of you. So like one of the craziest moments of my life, because we're driving and she's telling me this story. She's crying for a while, and like I don't know where I'm taking her. Like I was like, yeah, I'm like, do I take her home? Do I take her to the police station? Like, I don't know. But at this point, she's crying. I just drive. I'm just driving away. Like down that main road. And she finally kind of gets. She just says thank you over and over again. I'm like, okay, something was wrong, right? And she ends up telling me, like in our drive, she's like, I was like, where am I taking you? She's like, home. I was like, does he know where you live? And she says no. I said, okay, I'll take you home. So it was a Tinder date. It was the first time she's ever done Tinder. She met this guy online. They met at like the Chicken Express, like a local chicken place, right there by your neighborhood, right? So essentially, what this is all the story that I'm getting while I'm driving her to her house. They met there in public. He was nice, they're having a good dinner, and he's like, "Well, my house is just like walking distance, like a block away. Do you want to come over? Like all my like roommates are there with like their girlfriends or friends or whatever." And she's like, "Okay, cool. Like there's people there." And then she gets there. And the roommates pretty much immediately leave, and he starts making moves on her, and she doesn't want to. And then he starts restraining her and like not letting her leave. And that's when she she says she feels uncomfortable, tries to leave. He doesn't let her leave. So she finally gets out of the house and gets to the street. Like she was smart. She got to like a more public place.
Yeah.
And that's where I found this whole situation.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, essentially she was like, he was going to take advantage of me, right?
Yeah.
And it was just it's scary for her, and just kind of crazy that I just happened to go on it. And like, so I drive her home. I drop her. I'm like, she has a roommate. She calls her roommate. Roommate's not home, so she's freaking out. So I'm just call your roommate, ask her to come home. I gave her my card. Like, if you want to report this, she said, yeah, there's a way in the app to report stuff like that. I was like, if you want to call the cops, like I was a witness, I can say the parts that I saw. Gave her my number. And she's like, can I hug you? I'm like, sure. And gave her a hug, and then just like walked away, and just like I drove away. Wow. She walked away, and like that was it,
Gosh,
and
it's amazing.
It was just kind of crazy. So that's the story.
I have so many stories like that. I feel like situations like this find me. I mean, I literally have 5 off the top of my head, but one of the things, a lot of them, well, not a lot. I mean, that makes it sound like there's more than there actually are. But 2 of them in particular were relationships that were not just an encounter. Like it sounds like this was a bad encounter that you happened upon, right? 2 of the things that I have encountered have been long-standing relationships where it's like you can tell that this is a pattern. But we drove up, and I could tell they were fighting. They were walking along the side of the road. I could tell they were fighting, but he ran up to her and like pulled her hair. And so at first Seth and I were watching, and then it was like, pulling over to go intervene. And so
these were people you knew?
No,
okay.
No, they're strangers walking along the side of the road. But the most heartbreaking thing to me was, because I'm saying, get in our car, sweetie, get in our car. And he's like, he's yelling and angry. And I remember saying, see, she's afraid of you, but I'm not. So, and because there's this moment of like control, like you were in control, you were behind the steering wheel. This vulnerable person needed your really clarity of mind. Like when you're in that situation, and I have another story where I was in the situation where I could not think. I cannot make decisions right now. I cannot think. And so you need the other person to help you think clearly. I'm sure that there's like a lot of science going on about, fight or flight, and we're concentrating on breathing instead of like higher functioning decision making, So I was trying to make decisions for her, like get in the car. You be quiet. I'm not afraid of you. She is. We'll deal with you in a second, but let's get her in the car and out of harm's way. So anyways, the scariest moment where I was on the receiving end of this. Okay. So I think this is a story worth telling. So if it's too long, I'll try to make it quick. But Seth and I were on our way home from church. We're in our neighborhood, in our neighborhood.
So
and
like, the last few years.
Yes.
Same kind of.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And I'm watching this couple walk down the street, and something, just like what you're saying, which I think is probably the lesson here, something is making me study them. And I can't put my finger, I don't know why I'm studying them, but I'm studying them because nothing was unusual yet. But she was walking ahead of him. He was behind her. And I was like, babe, and directing Seth's attention to it. And he's kind of hugging her from behind. And then she breaks loose and kind of starts running, and he starts running after her. And my mind went, oh, they're playing. Oh no. Like there was,
right.
It was like these series of events, and it was very clear that they were in this physical altercation. So Seth immediately turns, and I tell her, I said, get in the car. He's behind. And it all happened really fast, but he comes storming up. He's got his hands in the pockets of his sweatshirt. He comes storming up, and he's like, y'all need to leave us alone. And there was there's so much intuition involved and like gut. I knew he was dangerous. I can't explain it. I knew normally where I was putting my finger in the other guy's face saying, I'm not afraid of you. This was not that. Yeah. I knew there was something in my spirit that knew to be afraid. And so I'm on the phone with 911. Seth is rolling up a window. Seth feels it too. And so we had decided to make the block. We're going to make the block. Okay. And so, and then the cops show everything. We live right near a police station. So everything happened really fast, but we had our eyes on her the whole time, but we knew not to get out of the car, etc. Okay. 2 years later, we're having a lot of work done on our home. And so it was a big project in the backyard. We're doing a lot of renovation type stuff. There were people around all of the time. Of course, Seth and I love company. And so we're getting to know them. I mean, it's the same guys at our house all the time.
I remember like during that time, I would show up to your house just to like say hi or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would park in your driveway, and immediately it was like I was attracting your workers.
Right.
Like I literally would park and get out of my car, and they were like, hey, can you move your car? I'm like, where did all three of these working vans come from?
Yeah. So, but like I was bringing them lunch. I mean, we just got to know them really well because it was a big project. And so one day, I had come home from something, and only one worker was there. He was waiting on the rest of the crew to get there. So I'm like, hey, come on in. I mean, I know them. And all of the sudden something clicked. He's showing me his phone, and he had just gotten back from an appointment with his girlfriend. They had seen an ultrasound of their new baby. Oh, cool. Yeah. So he's showing me that, and he's beaming. I mean, it was just really sweet. It was this really sweet moment. So he's showing me pictures, and I guess I didn't know anything about his family life or that he had a girlfriend or whatever, but there was something happened in my brain when he said, yeah, my girlfriend. And I went, click. I said, can I see a picture of your girlfriend? So he shows me a picture of his girlfriend, and I'm like, you're the guy. Oh, you're the guy, and that's the girl.
Really?
I broke up a fight with you. I know that you're violent. I was afraid of you in that moment, and you are standing in my home. It's just the two of us. Wow. And so...
You said that, or you realized?
No, I'm realizing
this.
No, I'm realizing this. But I am just trying to decide what to do. I don't feel afraid in this moment. We just oohed and awed over a picture of this baby, right? No. He has no clue. I say, come Holy Spirit. And I decide, this was my decision. I said, do you remember me? And he's looking me up and down. You can see him going through this little Rolodex, and he's like, no. And I'm like, I tell him. And I said, I feel really bad. I called the cop. Well, I didn't say I feel really bad because I don't. But I said, I called the cops on you. And he like starts putting things together. He looks out in the driveway and looks at my car, which is really distinctive, blue, And so he's just, whoa. He was like, oh my gosh, I remember that car. Oh my gosh. And so I'm just waiting for this response. And so he's like, and again, I don't feel afraid. Intuition, like I'm good. And he says, you know what? I'm really glad that you did. I'm glad that you called the cops. We had a really great time. Like the cop that showed up was actually really cool. And he said, and this is a really neat marker for me to look back on. That was 2 years ago. And to look at all of the progress that I've made since then. Like we're in a wonderful relationship. We're expecting a baby. I have steady work. Like things are good. I mean, this is wowing. Like this was like overwhelming to him that, just to see the marker. great. Like I hug him. I mean, it was just this really great moment. So the other workers end up showing up. He's outside. I go back into my room. I'm getting the baby down for a nap, I guess. I think I was laying down with the baby to try to get the baby to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden he's standing in my room.
Wait, really?
He's standing in my room.
God.
And so I come out of the room really quick to let him know, like, you're not welcome in here, And so I'm like, what's up? And he goes, do you have anything for a headache? And it was like, and he steps towards the door to like get me back into my where it would be, right? And so instinctively, I know don't do that. Mm-hmm. So I walk out into the kitchen, and anyways, the rest of it was just terrifying moments for me of being like trapped in my kitchen, blocked in my kitchen. The other workers are only feet away, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get outside, but it requires getting physically past him. Right. And I'm too afraid of him to get close to him. It was horrifying. My brain isn't working. What I did and the way that I got out of it is my phone was on the counter. I faked a phone call, which there was nothing. I picked up a phone and went, hello, and pretended like I was talking to someone. And there was something about having a prop in my hand that made me able to get around him. But he was talking about my body. He was telling me to show him upstairs. It was horrifying. Mm. And just that vulnerability, the vulnerability of that moment has made me so sensitive and grateful, like I could cry, to people like you that are aware and looking and ultimately trusting their gut to say something just isn't right. I mean, I talk about this with my kids all the time. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. Because what are we afraid of? Like being rude to someone? That's okay. We can be rude. If you are uncomfortable, say something. You don't owe anybody anything. You do not owe anyone your politeness, when it comes to your discomfort. Trust your gut. Yeah. So anyways, I was able to get past him and get into by the other workers, and then call my husband, who was at the health department, which is literally a minute and a half away. Yeah. And Seth was home in 90 seconds. And so
that's terrifying.
It was terrifying.
That's terrifying. And I think the thing that adds with your story is like your kid's there,
Yeah.
So like you can't just,
yeah.
Like the girl that I helped, like she was just, literally, it was all about her getting herself safe.
Yeah.
But then like if you just run, then your kid's in, like it's just terrifying. And I think both of your stories kind of emphasize the 2 points, like the two, not even like the 2 points I wanted to make on the show, because I wasn't even sure if I was going to talk about this until like I kind of thought about it.
Yeah.
And, like, I knew that you had kind of already heard the story through I told two people, and you heard it through one of those two people. So I was like, okay, like with your first story and kind of how my story started, it was just like, I think there's three big takeaways. One, I think is really obvious. Like, and I think it's so obvious that I have to say it anyway, but I don't think anybody listening to the show, like if you're a dude, don't be a jerk. Right.
Yeah, right.
And I think jerk is it's way too soft of a term, but I can't say how I actually feel. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And the second part is just what you were saying. It's like, just like you and your husband were in the car. It's like I'm always in my own world when I'm driving. Like I'm
sure, yeah.
98% of the time.
God ordained all that.
I leave where I was and I'm at home. Yeah. And I have no idea how anything happened. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm thinking like all this stuff, and it was everything was the same. And I'm looking at this situation, and I just see it, and it was just like I could go home or I could turn around. And worst case scenario, I just waste 2 minutes of my life because they're making out by the time I find them or whatever, right?
But there's risk, because what if he was dangerous not just to her but to you too? Right. I mean, there's risk involved, right. And so, I mean, you could have just as easily and more say. I don't know. I guess when I think about the vulnerability of what it's like to walk around as a woman, I said something to Seth the other day that was like, oh, I would never do that. And he was like, I've never thought of that. I can't remember what it was. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, or I would have been a little bit more prepared, but like just the things that women have to ask themselves, right. I mean, even just something as simple as I don't walk with earbuds in, or just one. Yeah. I just have one in.
Yeah. And I think you and I talked about that about a year and a half ago when I started walking around the neighborhood. It's like, I have like noise canceling in the whole time. And I think like, and like, that's the reason I wanted to talk to a woman about this because it's very different scenarios and how we have to look at the world and how we have to like kind of take care of ourselves. And like that was the second biggest point as I'm sitting in the car with this young lady, and then as I'm driving home, and like when I'm driving home, it's like the one time I don't have a podcast on. I'm just like sitting with what happened, and all I could think about was my female friends and ironically enough, like the young ladies, like younger than me, but like dating age.
Yeah.
So like the high school kids that I work with, to like the people who I know are 24, 25 that listen to the show, that are on Twitter, like all the people that are single and dating, and especially during the last year and a half, like we're all desperate for friendship.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people are, I remember not being married. Like I remember desperately wanting to be with a girl, and like and the biggest thing I was sitting with coming home, obviously this dude shouldn't have done what he did, but the biggest thing I was sitting with was there are people in the world like this.
Yeah.
The stats are ridiculous for how many women
have been assaulted.
And I know people who have, and I hear stories more and more all the time. And the biggest thing for me is just like, there's not always going to be somebody there.
Yeah.
And just to be safe, like this young lady, if you meet somebody online and you go meet at Chicken Express and have a nice meal, that's great. You're in public. There's other people around. Like that next step of going to their house on a first date, like just the biggest thing was just be careful, please.
Sure.
To young ladies especially, your lives are so much different than mine.
Yeah.
And I have no, I have an idea because I have a wife and I've worked with young ladies for forever, but I don't have any idea at the same time. Right. And I just don't want anybody to put themselves in this situation. Right. Not that it's the woman's fault. That's not what I'm trying to say.
No.
But
I hear you.
It's like, so like for me, I think the one thing that's similar is like when I was dating people in college, it was even with me, it's like, if I'm going to put myself in a position where I'm alone with this girl, I would want to do much more than I would if other people were around.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And but even then, like I'm the biggest person in the room almost anytime I walk into the room. Yeah. But the same thing that was true for me of I need to be safe and not be alone with my girlfriend is 1,000 times more for the ladies, because in most situations.
But I think that's a perfect example what you just said, because, and I'm going to exaggerate it, and which is that, okay, ladies be safe is in tandem with men be gentlemen, so ladies be safe. And there's this meme going around that was like, I don't know, hey, if someone's drunk, it was like preventive tips for not being raped. Hey, if someone's drunk, don't rape them. If you see someone walking by themselves, leave them alone, and so it was like, it was this meme that was like, you think is going to be intended for women, like how to stay safe. And then it's kind of a spoof on, hey guys, don't be inappropriate. Don't be violent. Don't be disrespectful. Right. So, but staying safe, because I think that a lot of the practices that we're using to meet people and be in relationships don't set us up for, we have to, I think that, normal practices, normal dating scenarios were primarily in public. And now it's like, well, with COVID and quarantine, like things have changed, it is more private. And so new sets of rules, I guess. Yeah.
So ultimately, keep yourselves in situations where you're safe and the other people in the room are safe. And then like that, the next thing is just if something feels off, it's so much better to be kind of ashamed because you were wrong and you were like, hey, is everything okay?
Right.
And kissing and everything's fine. Then to not say anything.
Well, there's even still nobility in that. I mean, I was in a car with a boyfriend in a parking lot, and a police officer knocked on the window and was like, is everything okay in here? And my friend spoke up, and the police officer was definitely waiting to hear from me.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. So it is what it is. And I know it's kind of a hard topic to start with. But I was glad I was able to talk with you about it.
Thanks for stepping in, Taylor.
Yeah. I'm just, it just, the whole thing just makes me so sad that, that this stuff happens way more than it should. So that it is what it is. Allison and I will be right back. We're going to lighten up the mood just a little bit. We're going to get back to Allison loves not being prepared, so we're going to play our new PodDecks game where we're both interviewed by a deck of cards.
Yeah, and I got nary a note for this episode.
On purpose. We'll be right back. So I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes on Forte Catholic's YouTube channel. So this is something that a lot of you guys know if you've been listening to the show for the last year. We started promoting right at the beginning of January 2020. And for a while, it was just a feat to get this show onto YouTube. But now, not only do we have full-length shows of the show that you are watching or listening to right now, we have so much other stuff going on. We just finished our Catholic comedian series with 3 great Catholic comedians. Jeremy, I almost said Jeremy Studebaker. I'm getting them mixed up. David Studebaker, Jeremy McClellan, Aaron Weber. We re-released the interviews with those guys just to kind of uplift us in this still kind of crazy time. You can check that out there. One of the funniest videos I've ever made, the roast of Father Anthony Sciarappa, our lovely and friendly priest who I went to his online mass, and he messed up mass literally from the first thing. So funny. You can check that out there. I've also been releasing some music here recently every Friday. That's also on YouTube. So all these great videos and more. I hope that you will enjoy them at youtube.com/Forte Catholic. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the old bell. Ding! And you'll be happy for the rest of your day. No promises for tomorrow. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll. That is Allison Sullivan. And we just saw this thing the other day. That 4 years ago was the first time that you were on the show,
right?
And there was this video of us in the radio station studio, and I have my notes for our interview, and it's 2 sentences. And this was back in the day where you were like, I'm not a talk person, I'm a writer. So you wrote out 19 pages of notes, and you've come so far to where you're so much more comfortable.
Oh, fine, but I still don't think it's better. I would still rather be well-spoken than spontaneous. I don't value spontaneity, okay, Taylor?
Well, here's the thing, the reason you don't, I have argued this with you. From my perspective, the reason you don't like it is because you think you're not good at it and you're tremendous at it.
That's very nice of you, but I feel like you just want me to get rid of my notes so that you can more easily humiliate me.
It just makes me feel better about myself and a little bit of that too. So we're going to do the spontaneity game.
Perfect.
These are our pod deck cards. We played this a few weeks ago for the first time with Father Anthony Sciarappa. And the funny thing about this game for me is you have now gotten used to the spontaneity and not knowing what's coming.
I'm just doing it your way.
But
I still don't prefer it.
But here's the thing about this game.
Okay.
That it evens the playing field. Because as much as it often doesn't look like, I'm always in 100% in control of the show, unless Edmund's co-hosting. Every other time, even with Liv, the joke is that I can't control Liv. I pulling the strings. I know exactly what's going on at all times. The funny thing about this game is it's called PodDecks. It's supposed to be for people who are just starting out interviewing that have never done interviews, not for somebody who's done 220 interviews.
Sure. Yeah.
Oscar winners. But it's I don't realize that I have to answer the questions too. Just in my mind, when I did this with Father Anthony the other day, he answered the question. He's like, what about you? I was like, what do you mean, what about me? I have to answer too?
Yes.
So
I ask the questions around here.
So we are both being interviewed by pieces of paper. That's
Perfect.
What this segment is.
All right, fine.
This is our pod decks. Our first question is, what do you value most in your friends?
Ooh, loyalty. This is a quick answer for me. I would never, when you think about being in middle school and leaving the lunch table and wondering what they're saying now that you're gone, I will never live that way ever again.
I'm glad.
If I have to worry,
I see behind your back.
If I have to worry about you talking about me, that's not love. I'm out.
Yeah.
Peace out.
For me, it's similar, but a little different. So mine's consistency. Which, consistency in things like loyalty that are but for me, it's the people that I'm friends with are the people who, they're the same person all the time. Right?
Yeah.
Because I've had friends that aren't my friends anymore.
Yeah.
That it was just you're this person this day.
Right.
And this person, and not just my friends who I'm consistent with, I am their friend when they are angry. When they are happy, when
that doesn't mean moody.
But
moody's different than,
I'm super moody. I'm all happy here.
Because at first I was like, oh geez. But no, I see the difference.
But it's just when somebody reacts 3 different ways to
Yeah.
the 3 times over the course of 3 months
Yep.
where I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And they're really nice one time and dismissive the other time and a jerk the other time. I'm just like, then I'm not going to talk to you about it because I have no idea.
There's nothing to
what I'm
rely
gonna
on.
get. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of words for that: consistency, loyalty, reliability.
Right.
I think consistency is the big thing because like that's where, like my friends who I've stayed friends with for a long time are very consistent, and the ones that have kind of fallen away. Yeah. I just never know. It's
interesting. So I was having a conversation with someone and they were like, what's a deal breaker for you in friendship? And I was like, competition. I hate it. Like, I just can't. It makes me crazy. And so, no. I don't know. Hold on. So I said, maybe she answered first and she was like, honesty. If you lie to me, I'm out. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You can totally lie to me. Because I like there might be a reason for it. Like it's fine. Like that's just not a big deal to me. But if you talk about me behind my back, like then you don't like me. You don't love me.
I think Allison's great at being spontaneous. How dare you say that behind my back?
You were loyal in the moment because you were like taking up for me. See, you can lie. It's fine.
That's good because I'm really good at lying.
Yeah.
A deal breaker for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be the best looking bald person in the room, which is why I'm no longer friends with your husband.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
on.
Nice. I'll relay that. Oh,
we're not going to do this one. This is going to get in trouble. Which living person do you most despise? We're not doing that one.
I don't even know.
You can answer in the comments. What characteristic are you most known for?
Ooh. I think you should answer this. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, let's answer for each other.
Okay.
I think...
I don't know.
Similar to us talking about the spontaneity thing.
Okay.
I think you are much better known as a tremendous speaker than writer. And I think, I think at least when we met and when you first started coming on the show, you were like, I am a writer who might sometimes talk about my writing. Right. And I think it's kind of one of those things that like I've talked about it before where it's like here locally, most people know me as a singer more than a speaker or a radio host,
right,
a podcaster,
right.
When that's most of what I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
But then online, nobody knows that I sing, right?
Yeah.
And I think for like people love a lot of the same ideas that you use to be a good writer.
Yeah.
You're now just sharing them speaking. I think you're so much more well known for being a tremendous speaker than anything else.
I think we're having a very granted stereotypical gender difference in how we approached this question. So read it again.
What characteristic are you most known for?
Okay, so you were like took that to something that we do, like these things that we do.
Yeah.
And
what do you do for a living?
Yeah, and I took this to the place of like qualities, like
your
like
eyes,
trade.
for sure.
No, not see there again. You go physical. I'm like thinking emotionally. Like I get comments a lot about how brave I am because. And it doesn't ever feel brave at the time. It just feel I wouldn't do it if I were afraid of it. But and then I get afraid later. I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. That was, almost said something. Anyways, but I think people will comment on that a lot. And so, but then I was thinking about, and I don't. Again, like I said, I don't feel brave. If I felt afraid, I wouldn't do it. I think I'm just misguided. But yours, I think, is honesty. Like you are going to tell it like it is. You are going to
just said I'm good at lying.
You're going to say what you think. Oh yeah. Funny. You're going to say what you think and you're not really going to like tailor it for whoever's listening. Like you're going to be true to yourself and say the thing. So
I thought it was my eyes. Now we're getting into the way that I answered the question anyway.
Okay.
But now you're going to answer for you. What do you consider your greatest achievement? Now now it's like actual things that you have done.
What first like popped into my head is my kids. I feel like they are so amazing despite me. Like I feel like I've done
despite you.
Despite like there are so many like inventive ways that I have I don't know, just had potential to harm their little selves of steam, and like just despite me, they are the most incredible, most delightful people. It's amazing.
I think everybody is screaming at their radios or YouTube right now that it's 100% my wife.
Your greatest achievement.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you look at me and you look at her.
I'm amening. I'm amening the people who are yelling.
The only people that kind of get it are the people that knew the two of us, like when we started dating, because we both looked amazing. That has changed drastically.
I think y'all are both adorable. I do.
If you think my wife and I, if you put us in the same adorable category, that's the meanest thing you ever said about my wife.
No. I guess because I've seen pictures of you young, like you look like that to me. Like
good. Because you didn't see me like that, so I'm glad you see me like that. That's tremendous. I think I've answered a question similar to this before. Like it's my wife, but the thing that I always think about is because for me that's super important. But more than half the world gets married, so that's
right.
Super special.
Sure.
For me, it's like singing a solo in Carnegie Hall.
I
think I might have even answered this question with Father Anthony a few weeks ago. But it's just like not many people have done that, and like walking those halls and seeing
so cool
the Beatles and like on the walls in there and seeing the greatest musicians in the world, and then like Taylor also sang a solo. Like that,
yeah.
Which one of these is not like the other? You know,
it's interesting to answer that question because you think naturally of what required the most of you, like what an accomplishment that was. That required a lot of me, and I did it. So I think about a book, like having written a book was a lot, but also adopting a baby, like that. That does not. My strengths are not tied up in what it took to do that. So it was incredibly taxing. And like, here he is, like that was a really big deal.
I thought about your adopted baby the other day for a strange reason.
Okay.
I got my beard trimmed and I was like, that baby is not going to be able to pull my beard as easily.
He loves men with facial hair. He's like, yeah, get my hands in it.
It's funny. You and I were at the St. Joseph's basketball game, ironically enough, 2 days after the last segment story. And he was sitting like 4 people away from me. And I would look at him every now and then. And like he was just staring at my eyes. I could tell that he was staring.
He's like
2 inches below my eyes.
Get me to that burly man.
Exactly.
I need that lap.
All right. We've got one more.
Okay.
We've got one more.
Okay.
And, I think your answer is none. I think that's what your answer is going to be. Okay. But what is your favorite gadget?
Oh, God. My coffee maker? I mean, honestly.
You have a fancy one? Like you have like a Keurig or something?
No, it's just the only one I don't despise.
Because it's super old school? Like do you
because
in your house old school on purpose?
Shush. Yes. Listen, I would really just rather be Amish. I would rather churn butter. I don't value spontaneity or efficiency. I don't need things to go fast in my life.
Things that define my life. Let's get this done and we don't have to prepare. Let's just
but this is a good question for you.
I think my favorite gadget, I mean, it has to be my phone. Because I literally do everything.
Sure.
Everything on it. Like, it's crazy. Like, I look at it and I'm like, even on the times where I'm like, this might blow your mind. You know how like your phone tells you how much you're on your phone a day? I'm interested. What is
No,
yours?
Never. I will never divulge that ever.
I think you might after I tell you mine.
Go.
I average on a good week 7, on a bad week 9 a day. Is that
good for you?
Close to yours?
Go ahead.
Is it really more?
No.
I didn't think so.
It's not.
I think it'd be like 2 or 3 for you because you're like a responsible adult.
2 or 3 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of you. No, it's more.
I think okay. I forgot about you being a TikTok star. Maybe it's more now because of TikTok. Before TikTok, I think it was like an hour a day. Like, but even on the days like when I'm like one Lent, I was like, I'm not gonna play games on my phone.
Yeah.
It's still 6.5 hours because I'm talking on the phone,
right.
I'm texting,
sure.
I'm emailing, and I'm like, dealing with all my clients and all this stuff. Like everything's on my phone.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. So you answered your coffee maker. I answered phone. One is a lot more.
I would grab my coffee maker in a fire, for sure.
You're a strange human being. We'll be right back. It is the Lenten season, and that means on Fridays we don't eat meat and we pray the Stations of the Cross. If you'd like to pray the Stations of the Cross with us here at Forte Catholic, boy, that we have a deal for you. It is free, and you have to give us nothing. And also, it costs 0 pennies. that means it's free. So the Stations of the Cross that my friend and I wrote back in college, they are available in text. They are available in a video where Father Anthony and I pray them together, and also in audio form right here on this podcast. You can find all of this at fortecatholic.com/blog/cross. Now, I know that's a lot, but you people know how to Google. So just Google Forte Catholic Stations of the Cross. You'll find it. Pray along with us. You can do it on your own time and kind of by yourself at your own pace through the text version and just read it there on the website, or you can listen on the go on the podcast, or sit down and pray with us here on YouTube. So again, find the Stations of the Cross at fortecatholic.com/blog/cross. And again, I know that's way too many letters and words. Google it, or it's linked down in the show notes. Enjoy it. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I'm Allison Sullivan. That's Taylor Schroll. And
don't you dare.
Taylor is a girl's name. We've all decided this. And I'm...
Really?
Yeah, I'm very feminine.
Oh.
Tremendously feminine. Okay, so one thing that we were going to talk about the last time you were on the show, because usually it's once a month, but then the COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then the previous time, we had so much to talk about.
Wait, right.
Another one of those things that, like, a lot of times I take notes, how I prepare for the shows. I take notes throughout the week. And then usually that's just what I'm going to talk about that week. Mm-hmm. But every now and then, like, it's something like gaming or music, I'm going to talk to John. If it's something PC, I'm going to talk to Anthony. If it's something, like, I just kind of, sometimes it's matched to certain people, and I have to, like, wait a month. There's one topic we've been waiting 2.5 months to talk about because we were going to talk about it 2.5 months ago. We didn't have time. And then last month we were going to talk about it and you didn't.
Well, the other thing that happens is that life events happen. Like, you can have a snow apocalypse. And so we need to discuss that. Right. So then things get pushed back. But yeah.
Exactly. It would be funny to talk about the snow apocalypse like today when it was old news. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a virus that just started. Okay. So you wanted to talk about a transition in parenting because you mentioned TikTok literally every time you speak, every other sentence.
Oh my gosh, that was the rudest thing you've ever said to me.
And your son, it's weird. Like he's on like the junior high school campus that I work at. And I'm like, you're
a child. You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. So so you were talking about this transitioning and parenting because you got this big old Catholic mom van now. So you're like a parent of like a young, like not young adult, but like a teenager now.
I mean, that has opinions and can hurt your feelings.
We all see it on TikTok. Yeah.
So my mom always said, it's funny because I don't remember why I thought that it would be good to discuss this, but ain't nothing. My mom always said that, raising little people was so physical. I mean, like just putting them into the car is an Olympic event that I am terrible at, by the way. It's like
you have a very low idea of what Olympic athletes do.
No, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And it's 102 degrees, and I think the heat index makes it like, I don't know, whatever. So it's just hard, right? But and not to mention like not getting sleep, and are you even feeding yourself if it's not the crusts of the sandwiches that you've cut off? And it's just this physical thing. And my mom always said, right now you're really using your body, but eventually you're going to get to use your brain. And I think it's interesting to me to look at motherhood and.
But my mom told me 20 years ago, and she's still waiting.
To get to use her brain. Is she still hiking you up on her hip, Taylor? I don't think so. So anyways, I just am at this place now where it's true. Like I am very much using all of my life experience and my interpersonal skills and excellence even to really kind of help this young adult. Like you just said, and it is completely different. I much prefer it. I mean, I've always said that the stage of parenting that I'm in is the one that I really like the best. And because our family's bigger, I'm in a couple of different stages at the same time, but I really, really am enjoying this shift. It's like he's working through some hard friendship things, or he's, just really having to push through adversity in new ways. And I love the counseling aspect of parenting right now. It's really fun.
It's interesting because I think just for the first time in your life in over a decade, you have something like new going on at your house.
Right.
Because it was like for a long time you had a baby.
Yeah.
And like the first time you have a baby, you have no idea what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And then you have a toddler and a baby.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I kind of get this baby thing, but I don't understand this toddler thing.
Yeah.
And then you got a lot of babies and a lot of toddlers, and you're like, I understand toddler and baby and kind of like young kid. Mm-hmm. But this is now you have toddlers, babies, young kids, and this young adult, and you're like, something new. woohoo, this is exciting.
Yes, exactly. Thanks for that affirmation and validation. Yeah.
So the thing for me that has been interesting, because I don't have a young adult, but I have like my first like Chris turns 8 really soon. And I think the biggest like realization that I had recently was like, I still kind of see him as like a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through a friend, Dave Neeson, who's been on the show before, tremendous guy, youth minister. His son, I think, is 5 or 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's like 2-ish years younger than my son. And he texted me and John Blevins the other day, was like a video that he made of his son playing Fortnite. And his son got like 14 kills in a Fortnite game which is just crazy. I mean, he's really good.
Yeah.
But 6 months ago, my son tried playing Mario, which is not as difficult as trying to shoot someone as someone's shooting you, like in like a cartoon Fortnite, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like Mario, you run to the right and jump over stuff. Like it's not super complicated. And my son tried it and just failed.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, he's 7, 2 years older than this other kid. And so like, I was like, I don't think you're ready for this. You know, I like, we had bought games. We've been playing games together for years.
Yeah.
But I like the transition of like, I was like, oh, like I was 6, 7, 8 when I got my first system,
it's time.
And I enjoyed the failing. And I don't think I remembered how bad I was at video games because I'm tremendous now. Right. So, but I was like, I have such fond memories at 6, 7, 8. I don't know, not specific, but I just remember loving playing Mario.
Yeah. And
then so I finally just, I was like, I just need to re-download the game. And so I downloaded yesterday was Sunday. I was working, editing podcasts and stuff. I was working on Sunday. Send me to hell, whatever. So my son's over there playing the game. I downloaded it for him, and he played for like 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and checked on him. You know, it'd be like, okay, go read a book or whatever. He was on the 2nd level. He had beaten 1 level in 2.5 hours. Which, like, if I was sitting there, I would have.
Oh my gosh!
Crazy,
yeah, right.
But he had so much fun, grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
And like, you know, he went from 6 months ago he couldn't get more than 10 seconds at each level before dying. And now he's beaten a level and almost beaten a second one. And I'm like, I think for me, it's like, I think I was kind of holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, right.
As he's getting older.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a transition for parenting for me here recently. So yeah.
Yeah, no, well, it's interesting because the new term isn't helicopter mom, it's lawnmower mom, which is going before them and making sure everything's clear and out of the way, like clearing their path, you know? Right. So I think that it's letting them kind of have some trouble. Like, no, I'm not going to fix this for you, you know, very intentionally not going ahead of them. So I don't know, there's something about what you were just saying about let him struggle with it. Let him fail. And I'm experiencing that as well with whether it's relationships or even schoolwork. Like he was in a basketball game and he went flying. And when he landed, which is fine and normal, but like he got tripped and like went flying, except when he landed, there was this thunk and it was his head against the wooden gym floor.
Nice.
And my instinct, I left my feet. Like my instinct, and there was a hand on my shoulder to sit me back down, and a stranger in my ear going, "Mom, it's junior high now," you know. And she was right. Like that would have been.
That's awesome.
It was awesome, isn't it great? And the thing is I would have sat myself down. It was just my instinct to leave my feet when I heard his head hit the ground. But anyways, same. Like I'm not going to do that for you in school anymore either. You know, like if I'm going to sit my butt down in bleachers and let you know, figure this out on a basketball court, I'm not going to do it in the classroom. So anyways, there is a lot of adversity and there is a lot of struggle, and we are coming up against, you know, some arguments or whatever, but it's good. It's for the best.
Well, that's why I just became a coach, so that I can actually have an active role and still yelling at them.
Absolutely. Perfect. And I'm relying on you to make sure he doesn't have a concussion. So
it is really funny, like dealing with parents, like when they have that thing, I'm just like, your kid's going to be fine.
It's fine.
Like,
it's
they'll be okay.
Fine.
Like, and like I've been around sports long enough to know, like, that's an injury.
Yeah, right. Like, of course.
Y'all need to take him. You know, like there's a difference.
It's time to go.
The other thing that was pretty funny is this last week, I don't know if you saw it, but I posted this thing from like 2 years ago. And the story behind it, I didn't even share the story behind it. It was just a picture, like a drawn picture of me. Like, it was this project. I'm kind of giving away the lead now, but it was this project that I did at this Catholic conference where I was speaking at, and it was for like junior high kids. So like I had them like draw themselves and like what patron saint would they be? Kind of like the idea of like, you know, you could be a saint too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
So, you know, what would you be this patron saint of, and kind of like include that into a drawing of yourself? Well, I did it too. Like I can't write legibly, nevertheless draw myself. So I shared this picture again the other day, and like everybody in my DMs were like responding or commenting. They were like, "Oh, like your daughter," thinking like my 6-year-old drew that, or thinking that like the 3-year-old drew that. And they're like, they were really like, that's really good. And I'm like, no, that was like 29-year-old Taylor drawing that. And like my 5-year-old, 6-year-old, I don't know, she's 5 or 6. She is better at drawing 2 years ago than I am right now. Mm-hmm. So that's just been kind of fun too. It's just like
to see their strengths.
Crazy that my 6-year-old is better at something.
Yeah,
than I am.
Right. Well, yeah, Amelia's smarter than all of us, and which is I'm glad about. But I just wish we wouldn't have figured it out in the 2nd grade. You know, like that would have been nice. Which, by the way, she's the one that can draw you so well. I sent you that. Remember?
Oh yeah, you did. Well, our kids continue to impress us. Allison kind of impressed me today. I didn't impress myself at all.
Nary a note, I say. Nary.
I will be back next week. See ya. What a voice crack. I made it all the way to the end of the show.
I didn't hear it. Just now. Oh. No. Okay, I gotta go. Yeah, that was good.